Okay, so first and foremost, before we had actually established any of our idea, we made clear to ourselves that we wanted to do one of two things, which was either kind of like an abstract idea, so a unique idea, or what was basically an unconventional narrative. Because after doing some research, looking into videos on YouTube and such sites, we found that pretty much the conventional story would be boy meets girl, they get together, and it's all resolved after 3 minutes, because obviously a music video is 3 to 4 minutes, and it's usually just a condensed story that's resolved. So essentially, we knew also that one of the first things we knew before we'd established an idea that was aimed at essentially our target audience, so 16 to 26-year-olds. And after sending out questionnaires and such, we essentially found that the desired video was like a narrative. So obviously, as a result of that, we wanted to do an unconventional narrative, and it's unconventional in that it doesn't follow a typical plot. It's not necessarily resolved at the end, and it's kind of a plot that you could see repeating itself within time.
The song itself is very unconventional because lyrically it's quite sad. However, the pace of it's quite fast, and we've kept this throughout our editing because in some ways it's quite fast, but we've kept the sadness of it through doing slow motion in the bit where he's walking down the alleyway, so it's kept that kind of sadness about it. But it's conventional way that we've kept it lyrically relevant because the places he goes and when he says there's people walking round and round, and he talks about the phone box and the silent sound because he talks into the telephone, so it's conventional in that sense.
Throughout our 3 texts, which is essentially our website, our digipack, so the album cover, and the video itself, there's a predominance of like sepia tones, browny, grungy kind of undertones. This was subsequent to doing some research into the kind of websites and designs through websites and album covers of artists that target similar audience, so 16 to 26-year-olds roughly. And through looking through those, they displayed kind of similar characteristics. So there was often grungy kind of sepia tones to their websites and albums, and we made sure to keep this consistent through all 3 texts. And it gives it that similar feel and look. And also, we looked through some of Madness's original albums and found that, generally speaking, because we wanted to kind of maintain some of like the band's original integrity, like what they represented in their time, but obviously bring it into a modern audience. So what we noticed quite predominantly was their use of simple fonts, simple text through albums, through websites. Basically a lot of their promotional stuff, and we did this in that the website uses a very similar font, and on our album we've used a very similar font, but kind of it keeps the essence of simplicity, but at the same time it's brought into kind of a more modern market because it's what you'd be expected to see on albums nowadays.
On our website itself, you can find links to other social websites such as Facebook, Twitter, so you can get latest news. Also, we've got a link to YouTube where you can look at other Madness videos. Also got a link to Amazon where you can buy the single and the album. This is for our, obviously, social audience who are 16 to 26, who use the internet, who use Facebook, Twitter and all that social websites. On our digipack itself, we've got the website address on the back, so people who buy the album can go on the website, go to these links, and find out more about the band itself and other videos and stuff like that.
So we initially filmed around late December. We hadn't planned on, because we'd done 2 nights of filming, we hadn't planned on doing any more, but after doing some initial screenings, we sent out flyers, and we got people to come and test screen our film, and it came to our attention that either some of the shots weren't up to standard or there were continuity problems. So in some of the shots, Josh's hair would be positioned quite clearly out of place in relevance to the last shot. you know, sometimes the clothes he was wearing weren't appearing the same as the shot just prior to which he was currently in. So obviously these weren't things that we could keep in our video and keep it to a standard we were happy with. So we went back and reshot certain. It was mainly the tail end of the film that we reshot, the video that we shot towards the end of January. Fortunately for us, we did audience screening early enough, so we didn't have to reshoot any of the shots that involve Christmas lights, because for obvious reasons it wouldn't have been plausible for us to have reshot them as late as we did after they'd have been taken down. So it was important for us that we kept those shots in, as there was clear lyrical relevance to what we had in the song. One of the points that pretty much came out of our initial screening were obviously there were some issues with tracking shots that we had, because whether it was kind of rushing shots towards the tail end of what we had filmed on the 2 nights, and some of just they generally weren't up to standard. So just steadiness of shot and keeping Josh within the centre of frame. Due to obviously the environment we were in, it was very underlit, heavily underlit actually. So it was important that we kept Josh in the pockets of light that we did have. We didn't want to, for obvious reasons, for keeping our narrative authentic, we didn't want to incorporate any artificial lighting. It was important that we used the lighting that was provided for us. So it was important that we had Josh positioned correctly in the frame so that he was lit adequately. And then after filming this, filming some of the reshoot, some of the feedback we had was generally in regards to lip syncing, which was an unfortunate, probably what we'd change if we could, because there are elements of and certain shots where lip syncing was spot on, and then there'd be subsequent shots where they weren't quite as decent. And if we were to have redone this, we'd have probably played the song aloud. That's definitely the biggest slip up we made. But we used methods to keep Josh as in time as we could. The slowing when we slowed some of the shots down, although they were effective for the shot itself, it helped in keeping Josh further in time with the lyrics.
So what feedback we got for what they did like was, because the song we mentioned before is quite fast paced, for the editing we used, we kept it quite fast paced. This was because the shots we used were quite fast, and there was quite a lot of shots, but we cut them together so they made it quite fast paced. For instance, the telephone box, first time that was about 2-3 shots. This time we got a shot. We had a couple of shots inside the telephone box, so it was more fluid, and it kept in with the time of the music, with its pace. So for our research, we used the internet, obviously, to research on Google, YouTube, so we could look at other types of videos from professional artists, so we could get information and examples of what we could use into our video. So we used that to put on our blog, which we also used obviously for our posts, to keep in touch with people and show them what we've done. We put videos on there, we put pictures of when we filmed, feedback from our questionnaires, and we put a scan of the questionnaire on there. We used screen grabs from YouTube clips and artists and stuff like that. For our construction, we used Final Cut Express. We never used this before. We didn't use it last year. We used iMovie last year, but this time we used Final Cut Express because it had more things you could use on it, better cutting for our editing. It was more fluid, so this really helped us. Also, we used Photoshop for our digipack. Chris used that on his laptop. He would bring his laptop in for some of the lessons, which was really helpful. We used Wix for the website, which was a program given to us. Our evaluation, we used the camera to just record our voices, because obviously we've used stills and videos in our evaluation to show you what we've done and the process of how we've done it. We also used Final Cut Express to edit this evaluation, which we used for our construction for our music video. So yeah, have a good day.
Thanks for listening.